This is things you might not have heard. I'm Jay Clifton Payne, and in the queue today, 8 news stories from the past day that you vetted as conversational. You helped us pick these stories to present to you in this presentation. And they cover current events, information, politics, and pop culture news. On the docket today, Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, and the little exchange that happened yesterday with our president, Donald Trump. Andrew Cuomo, who may have some issues in his run for mayor because some folks will be going after him for the past sins. And the one thing that sort of mattered, the Tush push, although breaking news we'll talk about in a bit is kind of in there that's more important, but the Tush push still alive. We'll get to more details on that towards the end of the program, and we'll explain the vetting process, how these 3 stories and the 5 others got to be a part of our show for today. But right now, 3 things up front. First, this is conversationproject.com. That's our website home where you can find more information about the full offerings of the Conversation Project and some other More Better Media LLC things as well. Also, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. That's our email address. So you can chat with us offline, although it's technically online because it's email, add back and forth on either news comments or just commentary in general. And we're sponsored today, once again, by Very Boring Investment Advice Newsletters. My newsletters, as I'm looking to do better in my investments. So I'm doing more actual research to make it worth my while, if you will. I'm sharing the research, I'm sharing the work with you and sort of the details I'm getting. So hopefully you get something out of it as well. Very Boring Investment Advice Newsletters, or the website, of course, veryboringinvestmentadvice.com. 8 stories for this Thursday, May 22nd. As I said, vetted by you as conversational. So you let us know which stories we're kind of worthy of talking about. Caveat for the first one, of course, we'll tell you about that in a moment. But you just simply follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X and let us know as we post stories all day long what stories throughout the day are good to talk about come tomorrow, essentially. So let's get into story number 1. This is one that was breaking news overnight, and then we went into essentially the top story because it's what's going to be taking over everything. The other thing taking over things right now, we'll talk about that more in the teasers because we'll get a full view on that one. The vote in the House on the Trump agenda, which should happen any time now. They've been up all night working on it. They're talking about it live. It may happen while I'm doing this live at 5:30 in the morning. We'll see on that one. But the first story, it's a big one. 2 Israeli embassy staffers shot dead outside Capitol Jewish Museum in D.C. Now, I woke up to this, and essentially everything was either the vote or this. And so live breaking news coverage for this one. Happening late last night, 2 staff members from the embassy in Israel, Yaron Lachinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram, were shot and killed outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. The couple had just attended a diplomatic reception hosted by the American Jewish Committee. Suspect identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago, reportedly shot at Free Palestine during and after the attack. He was apprehended at the scene and is currently in custody. Lachinsky is 28 years old and served as a research assistant in the embassy in their political department. Milgram worked in the Department of Public Diplomacy. The 2 were in a relationship which had plans to be engaged fairly soon on a coming trip to Jerusalem. So they both worked there. They both had a relationship together, and they were both tragically killed at this event. Law enforcement officials are treating the incidents as a hate crime and potential act of terrorism. FBI and Department of Homeland Security are involved in the ongoing investigations, and authorities believe that Rodriguez acted alone. There was no master plan. There was no people also involved. They recovered the weapon used in the shooting, so all is okay in the realm of what's going on in this investigation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the attack as anti-Semitic and announced increased security measures across all embassies worldwide. U.S. President Donald Trump expressed outrage over the killings, emphasizing commitment to combating anti-Semitism. This is something that's going to be worked out over time. We have the apprehended suspect. They've already announced the names are going on, so the investigation is pretty much afoot. The investigation is pretty much in place, and things will go fine for that one. So we will know and answer this one. Unlike other incidents like this, where there are question marks and days of chasing things down, this is one that should be wrapped up fairly quickly, and it looks like it's a fairly cut and dry thing. This is time for people to come up with some conspiracies that is not so cut and dry. Let's keep that to a low, dull roar until we get the official word, which should make this a cut and dry issue. What was not so cut and dry was actually the back and forth between President Donald Trump and the president of South Africa, being Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, I actually did a video on this last night, and we'll see how the retention comes on that one. That was more of a ranty because I don't know exactly where Donald Trump's head is going in this case, but you can watch that video and check it out as well. But rehashing essentially the news content for people who are not going to go back and watch the hot take on this one is, happening yesterday, the meeting at the White House with U.S. President Donald Trump and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, with the claims of white genocide on the table being in South Africa. Trump actually presented some video evidence, or video, I should say, and article evidence, or articles, printouts, I should say, that alleged targeted violence against white farmers, a narrative that's been widely discredited. Basically, everyone's saying it doesn't exist, including the South Africans and everyone else, except for a small circle of people who are basically telling Donald Trump it exists, and the folks he went out to find these videos and to pull these articles. The meeting was intended to discuss trade relations, an actual business meeting, but turned contentious when the Trump pressed on the allegations. Much like Zelensky, where Zelensky showed up to sign an agreement to basically turn over what he needed to do so that peace talks would go on and Trump would talk to Putin about peace in Ukraine. And then it turned into, why aren't you thinking of us? Why don't you wear a suit? It's what happens in these things. So Ramaphosa actually refuted the claims of white genocide, emphasizing that crime is big in South Africa. It affects all citizens. And because it is 70% black, predominantly black people are dealing with the crime. He clarified the controversial statements featured in the videos, which were opposition figures such as Julius Malema, and they did not represent the policy. In fact, the white finance minister of a different party spoke out to say, the reason why I work with Mr. Ramaphosa, as we've been in opposing parties for almost 30 years of opposing each other to battle against folks like Malema, is we don't need that kind of trash in our government. We keep him out on purpose so that we can be as prosperous as we are. What was really sort of telling with this one, if you watch the actual dealings and kind of get the context, is that the president of South Africa, yes, he's black. He brought with him members of note, some golfers from South Africa, the foreign minister who is of a different party. They have a parliamentary system there, so they kind of join together, who was white. And in speaking back and forth, Donald Trump was extremely dismissive to the president of South Africa, the guy who's his actual peer, but was actually more amenable to the white people in the room, especially the golfers. Seemed like he liked having the golfers in the room, so that's kind of what's there. So while refuting the white genocide and the farmers being killed in mass in South Africa, and of course, because of that, Trump allowed 59 white South Africans, just 59, to come here and escape persecution, even though even the South Africans are like, who are these people? What are they doing? It became sort of a thing, a new thing. And this is the sort of thing that we do these days. I'm not sure why we're doing these things these days, but it is what it is. Now, let me do my mea culpa on this one. I'm not, anti Donald Trump, the person, although I'm not a fan of the person. I'm not bashing the presidential office that he holds because I respect the office. But unfortunately, the way the man is playing the game, it's right now making no sense. First time around, we didn't know what was going to happen, and so it's there. This time around, not only is he rejecting what he's doing, but he's rejecting it in ways that are so bonkers, it's hard to understand what's going on. And things that you do that you can't undo. You burn a bridge, you eventually have to build that bridge back, maybe, but you've got to build it back. You can't just, tie a string across the river and walk a string rope for forever. What's happening here is, we'll talk more about what happened here sort of in context, but just the things that things that are being done under him that need to be either continued for whatever reasons that can't be explained, or undone because they realize they don't make sense, is amazing. South Africa came here with hat in hand, trying to bring on some relations. They want to do deals. They want to have infrastructure. They want the United States to invest in them so they don't have to go to China and Russia. Unfortunately, they're making China and Russia look much, much better partners these days. And Elon was there as well. We're going to talk about the Justice Department and Andrew Cuomo right now, as the Justice Department is launching a criminal investigation, a probe, if you will, into the former governor of New York City. This is all due to the false statements he made to Congress regarding his administration's handling of COVID-19 in nursing homes. Specifically, the investigators are examining whether Cuomo misrepresented his involvement in the drafting of the 2020 state health report that undercounted nursing home deaths. Evidence include emails and handwritten notes suggesting that he may have attributed the early versions, basically putting his input, contradicting his actual testimony that he had no such involvement. Why is this a big deal? Well, this is following a federal Republican-led oversight committee referral to it, at least, where he's accused of trying to evade accountability for the underrepresented deaths. Representative James Comer, not that guy, a committee head, has been vocal in urging the Justice Department to pursue charges citing substantial evidence in the falsehoods in Cuomo's testimony. Now, essentially, what happened for Cuomo and leaving his governmency, which is actually more about sexual harassment and a Me Too thing, was he was at first touted as the man who was handling COVID well when Donald Trump was not handling COVID well. And then it turns out he wasn't handling as well as he thought, as the number of people who died in nursing homes was underreported by a whole lot. Now, the biggest sort of irony of this is his return back to politics, even though it's local because it's the mayor of New York City, New York being the largest city here, the most important city other than Washington, D.C. here in the nation, and of course, big around the world. It's seen as a national, international story. Of course, the current mayor, has having issues with ties to Turkey. So that's why these things are there. He is currently the leading Democratic candidate for New York City's upcoming mayor race, which of course is also being recampaigned by the current mayor, Eric Adams, who wants to keep the job as a Democrat. But we'll see. Actually, as an independent. He dropped as independent. So Cuomo is leading the Democratic race. We'll see if he's actually leading the race come election time. And he is calling it, and the spokespeople are calling it, lawfare and election interference. You've been hearing a lot about that. That seems like a word that was made up for Donald Trump because he uses it a lot. But lawfare is using the law, using actual law terms and actual processes to get in the way of people getting done. And election interference, essentially making you look so bad that people won't vote for you, or making it so that you're ineligible to be voted for. Interference. Campaign for Cuomo is releasing advertisements portraying him as a victim of political targeting to fight this in process, even though it's been pretty much proven that the numbers he gave in his report, even though he may say he may not have written the report, were not right. The timing of the investigation has raised concerns about that lawfare and the applications on his actual political interference, given that it's so close to the primary right now. Critics argue that the probe could influence elections outcome. People seeing bad things in their possible former governor could be soon new mayor, and so they may not vote for him. They may not go vote at all because they just think the whole thing is a bad thing. Now, let's go back to the actual issue. During the early stages of COVID-19 pandemic, Cuomo's administration issued a directive requiring nursing homes to accept COVID-19 positive patients who were discharged from hospitals. The policy was scrutinized for potentially contributing to the high number of deaths in the facilities, and reports indicated that the state underreported these nursing home deaths when they actually sent them up there, which caused one of the biggest issues he had towards the end of his governorship. What actually got him out, of course, was more of a Me Too issue. The DOJ is seeking to cancel, and in fact, in some cases, has actually canceled some police reform agreements in many cities across the nation. Minneapolis and Louisville are two listed in the headline, but many of these things are being pulled. These agreements were initiated during the Biden administration, were aimed to address systematic issues following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Those sort of deaths and those sort of cases, and police not seeing as such a great thing at the time, meant putting in place things to help police officers, police departments get better at their jobs. And that's the more polite way of saying it, the less politically correct way of saying it, or maybe more politically correct way of saying it, get better at their jobs because of corruption and bad enforcement seen in many departments across the nation. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon stated that DOJ no longer believes these decrees serve the public interest, citing concerns over federal overreach and effectiveness of such measures, i.e., they are basically undoing Biden stuff. That's what they do. That's what this administration does. They undo the last stuff because it doesn't fall in line with their current thought process. Being better at policing doesn't fall in line with just being the police state that things seem to be. And despite the DOJ's withdrawals, officials in both cities for Minneapolis and Louisville specifically are going to continue with police reforms because the efforts need to be done in those places. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey affirmed the city's commitment to the reforms outlined in the original agreement, emphasizing that the city will proceed with implementing some changes independently. Similarly, so will Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg, announcing his plans to adopt a local reform initiative, including the appointment of an independent monitor to oversee the process. So Police reform in these two cities not going away, but they're also pulling in other places such as Memphis, Phoenix, Oklahoma City. You may have remember stories about Memphis lately as we talk about the Viper Squad, the Poison Squad, whatever the squad is. The fact that the men who beat down one guy in general, and you can say because the black police officers beat down a black guy, is not an issue. This was not a proof that there were issues with white cops attacking black people, but with cops in general over policing in various places. This is a significant shift from previous administration's approach to try to put oversight on things, addressing civil rights for all people in violations in local law enforcement agencies to make sure things are good. Critics are saying the move undermines efforts to ensure accountability and transparency in policing. The administration would probably say it's about making sure police officers have all the tools they need to police, even the tools that some believe are a bit excessive in policing. Quick pause from the news in for just a moment. So we're going 4 more news stories as promised coming up, and we will talk Tush Push. Tush Push is going to be a emphasis today. We got to get that one, of course, but we want to get your assistance here, and we want to get you to help us out by helping us grow the Conversation Project and more things with LLC or More Better Media LLC, if you will, because we need you to like, share, and subscribe to everything, but particularly this thing here to help us grow for our More Better Media, for our things you might have heard, for the Conversation Project. Get my words straight. We need you help on the articles, things we produce. So articles, newsletters, emails, videos, specifically for things you might have heard. This is our daily flagship, Monday through Friday. We need you to like the video if you're enjoying the video. If you're like the news coverage we're giving to you, some of it is a bit off beaten path. Some of it is the standard stuff you're getting, but we like to give you a mix of things that are good for conversation, not just what is breaking news that overtakes stuff. Yes, the big, beautiful bill is overtaking all news. Yes, the shooting outside of the museum of the 2 Jewish officials, that is going to overtake things. They're important. So we're talking about them here. But we're also talking about the plane in a second, and the Tush Push and things like that, and other things in the mix. If you enjoy getting this type of news coverage, and if you're not too upset with my actual commentary, or if you hate watching, like it as well. Share it if you want to get more people involved. You know, like-minded people who would enjoy this type of coverage, this type of commentary, or want to hate watch it as well. Share it with them, have them grow. And if you're not getting this natively into your feed, we ask you subscribe to it in whatever fashion to wherever you're at. If you're watching this video here, it may be on X, it may be on Facebook, it may be on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button so that you get this directly into your feed, so you can find it whether you're watching it with live notifications or later on in the day throughout your For You page or whatever it is you're looking for. We also have the hot takes on TikTok, the short versions of stories. We also have the audio versions of this on Where Your Pods Are Cast. You can find us there as well. And of course, we have the email newsletter at our website. This is conversationproject.com. Check out us in whatever form you want to get this daily news, however you want to get it, and help us grow the News Nerd Nation. We're officially at 2,200 people who are subscribed to the YouTube YouTube page, which is our official world number there. We thank you for joining us there. If you're there, not there yet, join in the fun because it is a lot of fun. It is the plane, boss, as U.S. has officially accepted this gift from Qatari, the aircraft that will join the Air Force One backup fleet. Now, the U.S. Department of Defense and Pete Hegseth, the actual boss of that one, has accepted the Boeing 747-8 aircraft, which is valued at approximately $400 million, the gift from the Qatari government. When you say it that way, it gets confusing because it's not Qatar, it's Qatari. It's intended for use as an interim Air Force One, with the aircraft undergoing modifications to meet presidential transport standards. As I said, the gift was accepted officially by the Secretary of Defense, stating that the federal regulations are following all processes going forward. As far as we can tell, the process is the United States accepted it, so it's not a personal gift to President Trump. The bottom line is the amount of money it's worth is an issue, and will it go with Trump to his presidential library? That's the biggest issue. Does it go with Trump when he's done? Does it go away? The aircraft boasts a luxurious interior, but experts emphasize that it's not quite up to speed for a fortress in the sky, or Air Force One standards for communication and security. This is going to cost taxpayers hundreds of $1 millions to make it work and several years to be done. So it might not be ready till, year 3.5, 4 of Donald Trump's tenure here. And he only has one more tenure. And like we said, it's not sticking around for the next president when the new Air Force Ones may be done in a year or so into their tenures. The planning stages have begun because it's a whole lot of work. First, they got to tear it down and just make sure that, there's no bugs on it. People have been saying that a lot because they have to say that. Then they have to actually wire it and cable it and set it up with all the things necessary to run our government, the U.S. government, that are not in the Qatari plane. The Qataris were basically flying around because they need a nice little plane to fly in. Here, we've got to run the world, and it's got to be able to be refilled in the air, which this one can't, have all the necessary countermeasures for nuclear stuff and things, which it doesn't have. And of course, be able to stay in the sky for quite some time, assuming there's like nuclear war and they can't land any place. It has to be the boss, the place that things get done with for quite some time. We'll see if they can do that in time frame and in budget frames matters. With all the other things that are doing budget stuff, including this big, beautiful bill, this isn't in it. So this is money that was not meant to be spent on something. Trump wants it. He's going to get it. When he gets it, we'll see. Now, the current Air Force One fleets are VC-25A aircraft, and they are 30 years old. They're due for replacement anyway, and Donald Trump actually started this process when he was president last time. But they're going to deliver 2 new VC-25Bs, and they're facing delays, cost overruns, what's going on. They should not be delivered to 2029. So because they're not showing up until after Trump is gone anyway, Trump wants something new now. This will be something that probably won't show up until 2027, 28. Is it worth it? Well, if he gets to take it with him, it probably is to him. To us, to the American people, it probably is not. So immediately, what came to mind was the plot line to the movie Hiding Out, starring John Cryer from the 80s, 1987, when he was basically getting too old to play teenagers in teenage movies. And so he played a teenager in a teenage movie, but he was actually a 30-year-old person running from the mob. That is Hiding Out. This is a true story that is a bit more sad. Wish you didn't have to talk about this one, but it's either this one or the guy that ran across the stage of graduation with a baby dressed up in a graduation garb. So we go with this one because it's a bit more serious and may have some more concern and may have something to worry about. This man, Antonio Emmanuel Labrador Sierra, is a 25-year-old Venezuelan national. He was arrested in in Perrysburg, Ohio, this week for posing allegedly as a 16-year-old student at the Perrysburg High School. He enrolled in January 2024 using forged documents, including a Venezuelan birth certificate and a false birth date. So he claimed to be a homeless immigrant and a victim of human trafficking, so he tried to get into school to better himself. Labrador Sierra obtained an Ohio's driver's license, social security number, temporary protected status during his time in the school. It came to light that deception was over there when a woman contacted the guardianship family, asserting that Labrador Sierra was actually 12 years old and the father of her child. She provided evidence, including his actual driver's license and photographs. Following the revelation, school officials and law enforcement initiated an investigation and found that Labrador Sierra was not a teenager, but an adult. He was arrested on May 19th during a traffic stop on Interstate 75 and charged with felony forgery. Labrador Sierra is currently held in the Wood County Jail, $50,000 bond. He was fitted with an ankle bracelet, restricted from within 2 miles of the high school. ICE has lodged a detainer against him, which is probably fair to say it's a good idea because his visa has been expired, and so he's unauthorized to stay in the United States. This is, of course, his original visa, not his visa as a teenager. He's been expired since 2020, apparently. This raised concerns on local officials and the community. Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio has called for several investigations to see how Labrador Sierra was able to do this. He enrolled in high school, attended the school in false identity for over a year, pretended to be a teenager. School district stated that they follow legal protocols for enrolling students who present their consent as unaccompanied minors, which he did. Issue is he is very much not a minor. So there's the issue. So there's other things to actually investigate, including what do you do in school? Who do you have involved in with the students, and were they a danger to them? Especially in sports, it's interaction with other students in other clubs, and also the charges will be filed at those times as they deal with those things. Court appearance for his main charges will be May 29th of this year, basically next month. Two more stories to get through. I'm sorry, folks. We're gonna get through this, so bear with me. We talked about Walmart a few days ago and how they were dealing with the issues with tariffs and how they're looking at how they're going to go forward, pricing of goods going forward because tariffs are going to be an issue. Target's now coming out with their sales numbers for first quarter. They have declined, and they're calling it a tough year ahead based on some tough times they've had in the past couple months. First quarter of 2025, Target had about a 2.8% decrease in net sales, $23.85 billion total for sales. Still short of expectations. Comparable to the sales decline at 3.8% with a 5.7% drop in stores, partially offset by a 4.7% increase in digital sales. So it didn't quite work out as bad as it could, but it was not great. Adjusted earnings per share were $1.30, below the anticipated $1.64. And the acknowledgement from CEO Brian Cornell that the company did underperform and needs to work better going forward. Now, they've adjusted their full year forecast, anticipating a low single-digit decline in sales, shift from a 1% growth they thought at the beginning of the year. Now they know they're going to lose something. They revised their adjusted earnings per share guidance to $7. It's from $9 per share. Although the early estimates had it at 880, but it will see what happens. 880 to 980, so down about $2.80 to adjust. $1.80 to adjust for what's happening. Now, a couple factors. This is not as simple as tariffs make things cost more. At the beginning of the year, Target announced it was scaling back many of its DEI programs. Because of that criticism, many boycotts led by black pastors, which some actually say is more a statement of black pastors trying to take their shots. But it actually did work, as sales at Target stores across the nation declined a lot from the law of black constituents, black buyers, black folks there, and people who were just sort of over Target at the moment. So in response to these challenges, Target is announcing a creation of a enterprise acceleration office headed by COO Michael Fedecki, and it's going to improve efficiency and decision-making in what's going on. They're going to introduce over 10,000 new budget-friendly products to attract cost-conscious customers into the stores and work to diversify supply chain to mitigate the tariff impacts. Buy more American, if you will, or less Chinese, so that the tariffs that do come in or the prices that are there, although maybe higher than expected, will actually be something that more people will actually take in. As we said earlier, Walmart also stating more or less similar things about how they're going to do with their outlook going forward, because Walmart, although maintaining stronger sales figures, is seeing the writing on the wall. They see the light at the end of the tunnel and they realize it is a train coming straight for them, and they're dealing with it as best as possible. While they're currently being shot down by Donald Trump, being told they're going to eat those tariff costs, Walmart, Target, none of these places are going to eat the tariff costs. because some of the items that are going to see the biggest hits, biggest growth in prices to you are apparel and home decor. They're doing their best to work them down so they can actually stock up on things on the early in, so they have things for you, although the newer items won't be there in stock, and make sure that the lower price items are there so they can get rid of them quickly to negate some of the higher price items that are coming down the pike. Apologies to anybody who lasted this long in what's happening. It's just one of those mornings dealing with stuff. I'll explain stuff and do the cries for help once we're done all the headlines. But the story is going to essentially story is going to have my beautiful wife Christina McKay basically hang up on the show early. Is this one the number 8 story? And I would say one of the most important stories of all time, if you would, notwithstanding the first 2 stories, which were very important for what's going on here in our nation. But the Tush push. NFL older owners have actually rejected a proposal to ban the controversial Tush push play. Tush push lives. Now, team owners have basically said they're going to let it go. They voted against the ban of the Tush push, which is a play on the football field, the American football, if you will, where a short yardage tactic, which is used very, very prominently by the Philadelphia Eagles, and more people should actually use it though. But it actually is a big deal. So the proposal was introduced by the Green Bay Packers. Needed 24 votes of the Packers management. Needed 24 votes to pass. Only got 22 in favor. 10 teams actually said no, we're good with this one of the 32. As a result, the play is legal for 2025. So what is a Tush push? It's literally everyone lines up on the line. The quarterback gets the ball. They hike the ball to the quarterback. So, and then the center moves to the side, and then everybody behind them just pushes him past the offensive line until he's made his play. It's not like a normal quarterback sneak, or where the quarterback takes it and then kind of runs around a circle and trying to get around stuff, or the very popular dive play where the quarterback gets the ball and then jumps over everybody and hopes to make it in there, where defensive players will just kind of jump up there and kind of knock him down. This is literally pushing the guy in a rugby scrum so that the whole line moves forward and the person with the ball makes it across the line to get the yardage they need going forward. So the Eagles have effectively used this play for the last 2-3 seasons to go with that one, and to kind of pull up with the fact that it's a good play. Retired center Jason Kelsey and owner of the team Jeffrey Lurie actually attended the meetings to argue against the ban, emphasizing that it's actually a safe play and has strategic value. In fact, more teams should try to figure out how to play it instead of and maybe play against it, as opposed to just saying let's get rid of it, because of many plays out there, just having people push back and forth is a lot easier than having people jump on top of other folks in other things. The exchange got heated actually in some meetings, some of the actual discussions, and this one in particular. In fact, Troy Vincent, the NFL's executive, actually said some remarks were inappropriate for the discussion with grown men who are billionaires discussing something as silly as something called a Tush push. However, the Tush push remains. The ban's been rejected. Teams can use it in the upcoming season. In fact, we're assuming more teams will try to figure out how to use it effectively because it ain't going away. Okay, because of the spasms, we're gonna fly through this stuff, and we've gone really long, so we got to fly through this to get this done, and we'll salvage what we can going forward. Apologies for everybody today. Obviously I'm suffering through something, so you're suffering through, unfortunately, as well. Another day of apologies to the audio listeners. The teaser stories for today, stories that are coming down the line for you to engage in, for you to tell us whether they're worthy of talking about. Trump agenda bill clears critical hurdle as GOP leaders push ahead to full vote House vote. It's talking about it right now, maybe happening as we're doing this recording right now. Deborah Norville exits Inside Edition after 30 years. Hard to believe that she's been on the air with that show for that long. I mean, if you're not watching local television, hard to believe maybe the show still exists. And the biggest thing is that she was a big deal with NBC News for about a decade beforehand. So if you're thinking you feel a little old these days because this person has done this for so long, there's a reason why. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again report worries farmers and Republicans ahead of its release. There are things in this report that basically RFK Jr. wants to do or wants to push for that many people who have skin in the game on making and keep people healthy are a little leery about. You can see that. Click the link and see what's in there, what's going on, what they're seeing ahead of time, and see what out there and engage in these stories, vote them up, if you will, to talk about them as we produce them on X, on Facebook throughout the day. Every 20 minutes or so, every 50 minutes or so, 20 minutes will be a hell of a lot of work. Every 50 minutes or so, we put out news articles from various sources on X and on Facebook, facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project, x.com/th_conversation, and you can engage in stories to help us pick the stories for the next day. Very quickly, got to take time to make a sales pitch because maybe you may feel sorry for me and buy in on this one going forward. And this one is one that doesn't really cost you very much. The only actual sponsorship we have on this project are some affiliate banner ads. And if you use our affiliate link for Robinhood, which is this is a conversationprod.com/Robinhood, or the one that is attached to the website. Very Boring Investment Advice is my website, veryboringinvestmentadvice.com, that allows you to see the very boring investment things I am doing. And as I am trying to get more research and more learning about what's going on, every day we produce two newsletters or two blog posts, if you will. 6 stocks to watch, 6 stocks in the morning that may not be on your radar that you may want to look into, or if you hold them, may want to get out of. Today's market action, which is a wrap up of the market day with some things that happened, including the market reactions, plus some stocks that were heavy gainers, heavy losers, and just had a lot of action on the day. On Saturday, we give you the market week was, which is essentially an expansion of the market action just for the weekend. And throughout the week, we also give you articles on investment advice and savings advice, things like that. These are things that I am doing to improve, and these are things that I'm doing to improve, and that I'm using the magic of producing it as content to hopefully pay for itself, if you will. So if you want to help out with this one or learn more about the markets, and as a reminder, I am not a financial analyst. I'm just a guy who has his own investments to worry about. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to sell you anything other than maybe using our link for Robinhood and maybe a robot pool cleaner, robot lawnmower via the links inside of our affiliates. I literally like learning and like learning and like showing learning and teaching. And this is one way I can do this with these investments. I'm extremely into this. I wish that this technology existed when I was much younger so I can get into it earlier and got maybe bigger at it. But this is something that no matter what your age or station in life, this is something to really know about, especially if you're getting closer to retirement. I want to see what your investments are going on and what you can do to help push a bit more in the tail end. And if you're younger in the game, get in early, get in quick, and get as much as you can on the front end to get things going. Go to veryboringinvestmentadvice.com. That's the website where you can see these things come down as regular blog posts all day long. Or use the link that's in this presentation to sign up for the email newsletter list and get these 3 newsletters, 2 Monday through Friday and 1 on Saturday, and plus and get there. We don't send out the articles yet. We hadn't found a way to do that. That's not extra spammy because this start out just like one thing once a day. We don't want to be sending too many things to your email address addresses that make it too much of a burden. But you can go to the website and see the articles right now being published on Tuesday and Thursday. We may have a third one on Friday as we work out our details. There were once a big mix of everything that came out on Tuesday. Now, Tuesday is a longer version on investment advice. Thursday is a shorter version on savings advice. And then we might have some in-betweeners that come up on Friday as well. But check it out. I'll go to veryboringinvestmentadvice.com and learn about the word of investing without flashy stock tips, crypto hype, and financial advice that is way over the top. That sounds more like a gamble. I am not Grant Cardone. Trust me, I'm not that guy. But if you like boring that works, I have boring that works, and we can do it together. No gimmicks, no games, just knowledge and learning. The Conversation Project lives online at this. It's conversationproject.com. That's our online home where we ask you to contribute. Our email address, the conversation inbox, gmail.com, where we ask you to contribute. You want to have a conversation about anything, email me, we can do it. I want to see how you can help us out at the Conversation Project. Stop by our website and see what you can help with. The biggest thing, as listed there on the website, in the video, and I'll repeat again one more time, hopefully hiccups notwithstanding, facebook.com/this is the conversation project, x.com/th_conversation. Every 50 minutes, we post news articles there. So as you check your X and check your Facebook for family things or political things or Elon Musk things, see what news articles we have popping up in our feeds. And if they're worthy of your attention or overall attention, engage in them. The more a story is engaged with by you out there, better chance we have of picking it for a story for tomorrow. 8 stories will be presented in the rundown for tomorrow, and you help pick those stories from the most engaged stories. That's simple. Also simple, wrapping up the day. Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. We've gone long, might as well go do it. So for those of you who are here this long and may care, I actually have some health issues going on right now. I am suffering from, I've suffered for quite some time on type 2 diabetes. And a couple times in the past, it's been so terrible that I've dealt with near kidney failure going forward. So I can be pretty bad with that one. The irony is right now, my general numbers that I test and keep up with seem to be fine, seem to be normal. But some of the symptoms that go along with some of the more severe things are sort of coming in and out there. And these hiccups, which if they were hiccups, would be one thing. They're actually not so much hiccups. They're actually spasms that trigger some very, 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 very bad things in the issue. And because I'm talking while I'm spasming, hiccuping, I'm swallowing the air. I'm doing stuff like that. And it's been going on for a few weeks. So yes, we're going to get that checked out soon. No, it's not a 24/7 thing, but it pops up every few hours. And as things go along, as I said, my numbers tell me I'm good, but some side effects are telling me there are other things going on that need to be checked. So it makes it hard to have conversations in general. It makes it hard to do monologues that aren't monologues, because I say this is not a monologue, this is a dialogue. And it makes this cough button right here not as useful as it should be when the coughing and the hiccuping and the breathing and the burping lasts a good 30 to 60 seconds as opposed to just a 5-second pause. So for those who care, that's what's going on. For those who don't care, and the bots out there, that's what's going on. And for those who want to help out, it'd be great if you would sign up as a partner or go to one of our sponsors and help us out in general. Because maybe the problem with the Conversation Project and things might have heard is not, maybe the problem is me, and maybe it is I need to produce and find someone else to be the face and voice of it. Maybe that would do that. And if I can afford to pay someone to do that, we might do that. With that, love you, mean it. Let's get out of here.